By night, California glows except for a vast, empty darkness stretching east of the mountains. While nearly 40 million people crowd its booming coast, the eastern half appears almost forgotten. Bigger than New Jersey, but sometimes with less than 2 people per square mile. It's not just geography, it's a man-made divide marked by deadly heat, water vanished westward, and towns stranded in silence. But what really turned this side of California into America's emptiest frontier? The answer begins with a colossal wall that still shapes everything on either side. Stretching nearly 400 miles from north to south, the Sierra Nevada rises like a colossal stone barricade, slicing California in two. At its broadest, this mountain wall spans up to 80 miles across, with more than 500 jagged peaks soaring above 12,000 feet. Mount Whitney, the tallest summit in the lower 48 states, stands at 14,505 feet, higher than any skyscraper and higher than most clouds. From the air, the Sierra looks almost impenetrable, a fortress of granite, snow and sheer cliffs that runs unbroken for hundreds of miles. For anyone trying to cross from east to west, this range has always been more than just scenery. Early travellers faced a gauntlet of steep passes and deep canyons. Even today, only a handful of winding highways manage to thread their way across the crest, and winter storms can close them for months. The mountains do not just block people, they block rivers too. Every major waterway that begins in these heights turns west, pouring snowmelt down toward the valleys and the Pacific. On the eastern side, rivers dry up or disappear into the desert floor. The Sierra Nevada does not just shape the land, it sets the rules for who can live where. Its scale and height create a natural barrier so absolute that it decides the fate of everything on either side, from the lush, crowded cities of the west to the silent emptiness of the east. Moist air masses roll in from the Pacific, heavy with water vapor, until they collide with the Sierra Nevada's western flank. As these clouds rise, the air cools and sheds its load, sometimes in torrents, sometimes as blizzards. Donner Summit, perched at nearly 7,100 feet, averages almost 33 feet of snow each year, enough to bury houses and snarl traffic for weeks. The mountains act like a giant sponge, wringing out nearly all the moisture before storms ever reach the far side. On the eastern slopes, the story changes abruptly. The air, now stripped of its water, descends and warms. Any remaining clouds dissolve, leaving behind a dry, sun-baked landscape. In the town of Bishop, just over the crest, average annual rainfall is barely 5 inches, a stark contrast to San Francisco's 22 inches. This is the rain-shadow effect, a phenomenon that turns the eastern valleys into some of the driest places in North America. A climatologist puts it simply, the Sierra doesn't just block rain, it dictates California's fate. Wet west thrives, dry east empties. This invisible wall of dryness shapes everything from the colour of the grass to the size of the towns. Where the rain stops, so does the promise of easy living. The east remains a land of scarcity, its fate decided by the mountains and the sky. Death Valley sits more than 280 feet below sea level, cradled by bare mountains and swept by relentless sun. In July of 1913, a thermometer at Furnace Creek registered 134 degrees Fahrenheit, the hottest temperature ever reliably measured on Earth. This is not an outlier, but the defining reality of the eastern California desert. Rain is almost a rumour here. In a typical year, less than 2 inches fall across the valley floor. Most months pass without a drop. Where rivers once might have carved green corridors, only salt flats and dry washes remain. No other region in North America combines such extremes of heat, dryness and elevation. At midday, the ground can sear skin, and at night, temperatures can plummet 40 degrees. The landscape is a study in survival, with life clinging to rare springs or vanishing entirely. Death Valley's name is no exaggeration, it is a warning. For centuries, only the hardiest people and animals managed to persist, and even then, only in small numbers. Attempts to settle or farm the valley have failed time and again. Wells run dry, crops wither, and isolation becomes absolute. The The Sierra's rain shadow does more than shape scenery, it creates a hard limit, a natural ceiling on how many people can live east of the mountains. Before aqueducts, before policy, before cities rose along the coast, the land itself set the boundaries. In places like Death Valley, those boundaries are absolute. The emptiness is not just a product of history, it is written into the earth and sky. The Los Angeles aqueduct began moving water in 1913, pulling the liquid lifeblood of the Owens Valley more than 200 miles south to fuel a city's ambitions. Built by teams of engineers and labourers, the aqueduct tapped the Sierra Nevada snowpack, California's natural reservoir, and rerouted it away from the dry east. A civil engineer who worked on the project later put it bluntly, aqueducts didn't just move water, they moved people westward. As water vanished from the valley, so did its future. Inyo County, larger than the entire state of New Jersey, was left with just 18,000 people scattered across 10,000 square miles. By contrast, New Jersey holds nearly 9 million. The story repeated itself in Alpine County, where fewer than 2 people live on each square mile. Meanwhile, Los Angeles County ballooned to over 2,400 people per square mile. Its growth made possible by water siphoned from the east. The Central Valley became another beneficiary. Using Sierra snowmelt, farmers coaxed more than 250 crops from the land, creating an agricultural empire worth over $50 billion each year. But the rivers that made this possible all flowed west, leaving the east in a permanent drought. The Hetchy Aqueduct, completed to serve San Francisco, followed the same logic: tap the mountain snow, feed the city, and let the desert fend for itself. A water whistleblower once warned, "We didn't just dry up a valley, we built a population divide you can see from space." The emptiness of Eastern California is not just a matter of geography, it is the result of water engineered to flow away, carrying people and prosperity with it. Spanish missionaries arrived by sea in 1769, laying down a chain of missions along the coast from San Diego to San Francisco. They never tried to cross the Sierra Wall or settle the dry interior. Instead, they built El Camino Real, a road linking port towns, and left the vast east as a blank on their maps. When gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in 1848, a rush of 300,000 fortune seekers poured into the western foothills. The gold itself had washed down from the Sierra, carried by rivers that never crossed the divide. San Francisco exploded in size, and all the roads, railways, and money followed the same westward path. The east remained a place to cross, not to stay. A local historian says the turning point was clear: the Sierra was never a destination, it was an obstacle. The east was a wasteland you survived on your way to the gold. The Donner Party tragedy in 1846 made that lesson unforgettable. Trapped by snow at the crest, they faced starvation and, in the end, cannibalism just to survive. Survivors wrote home, warning others away from the deadly barrier. Decades later, the emptiness became a tool. During World War II, the federal government built Manzanar in the Owens Valley, incarcerating over 10,000 Japanese Americans in a camp chosen precisely because it was isolated, dry and far from cities. The same logic guided federal land policy. Today, more than 80% of Eastern California is set aside as national parks, military bases, and wilderness. China Lake alone covers nearly 300,000 acres. Development is nearly impossible, and the population divide is written into law as much as it is written into the land. The emptiness of the East is not just a natural fact, it is the product of centuries of decisions, each one reinforcing the divide. Today, the divide remains stark. Millions thrive just miles from land so empty it rivals the moon. As water, climate, and land pressures grow, Eastern California's emptiness isn't just a quirk, it's a warning. The real frontier isn't space, it's the limits we build and the ones we inherit.